Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ricky V, and we're going to be taking this podcast in a bit of a different direction. Did the first few episodes just almost as an audible reading content off of the Elite Fitness website and added my own commentary to it, but we're gonna change that up now. I will be doing another podcast where I'll be doing that same kind of audible content, but for now on the Elite Fitness podcast, we're gonna start doing interviews. So the first interview is a really good one everybody should listen to. It's Dylan Gemelli. Dylan Gemelli has been in videos on YouTube about steroids for years, SARMS, and any other performance enhancement drug you can imagine. The dude's been consistently putting up content and being a member of different communities for years. So he's very knowledgeable, knows his shit, owns a gym, very interesting character. And if you're a newbie, you might not enjoy the interview as much because we go into some pretty deep industry stuff. If you've been around for a while, then you might like a good listen to it. So I don't know. You guys can tell me. Comment if you're listening to this on YouTube. Comment below or contact me. RickyVRock.com. That's RickyVRock.com. Contact me. Let me know what you think of the interview. So it's part 1 and 2. Here's part 1 today of the Dylan Gemelli interview. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, and we're recording. So you're telling me you get shin splints even when you're not juicing?
Oh yeah. Well, man, I've been running for I'm 39. I've been running like that for, I don't know, over 20 years, man. Like, in that 5 to 10 mile range a day.
Do you notice a difference from when you're on the sauce and when you're not in your shin splints?
If I'm running an oral, yeah, but I don't really, I mean, I haven't ran a ton of orals because I get sick of the side effects. And so I've never really had a problem. Just early Anavar use was the problem.
How about tightness on your lower back and other muscles? Do you get that as well with or without the juice?
I'll tell you a story real quick, a fast one. So one of my early on cycles, I thought I was getting test Anavar and Masteron, and I gained like 15 pounds in 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks. And I wasn't eating like crazy amounts more. And I certainly shouldn't be getting that kind of size with test Masteron and Anavar. It turns out I had D-ball, and I got some terrible back, lower back, and I already have a bad lower back, so it was bad, man. But other than that I really haven't had any issue on orals with the back at all.
So the source basically swapped out the compounds on you.
Well, he had said, because I actually know him, and he said that he had found out only because a girl he also gave him to had all kinds of strange side effects that you should not be getting with Anavar, right? So he was at least claiming that he got screwed by the raw source. So
the guy up the line from him.
Yeah, that was the claim. I had no reason to not believe him because he never, had any issues before.
Poor girl.
Yeah, she was a mess, man. Like from what he told me, it didn't sound good.
Yeah, it happens a lot. These guys don't send out raws for testing. They just kind of trust the supplier, and this happens quite a bit actually, man.
Yeah, I know. It never ceases to amaze me that it never slows down. It's just like that forever. It always will be. There's no way around it.
Yeah. So do you think, let me ask you a question. Do you think that underground gym guys are still like, how are most people getting their source nowadays? What do you think? Do you think most people, because there was a time where you could only really get it at gyms back in the day, when you and I were like kids. And then there was a time where everybody was getting it online. And then I think it went back to the gym dealer the last 5-10 years. What do you think?
Well, here's where you got to look at it from a far point of view, right? So I can tell you where it is in certain areas, but like, so the bigger areas, like your Vegas, where you've got all the guys from Olympia's training, your LAs and those areas, the gym guys, they're in there, right? But a lot of the smaller areas, smaller towns, smaller this, for one, everybody fucking knows everybody, right? So the word spreads around too quickly and people, they don't last. It just doesn't work. And plus this, it's not as big of a deal to guys in certain areas as it is in others. So I think it's variant, but I do agree there's a lot more in gyms than there probably had been. At least I don't, that's another thing. Now it's different for me. When I used to keep my ear to everything, the younger I was and everything, and now when I go to the gym, I'm like in and I'm out. I don't want to listen, talk, you know what I mean? It's different because I got other businesses to do and other shit to do, and it's different. But I think it's both ways, online and at the gyms. I think it's going to continue to be that way, depending on locations.
I'll tell you a phenomenon. I think that the majority of stores that cater to meatheads got them for you too. I think
Oh yeah.
especially in rural areas, uh, I think a lot of the stores are, because a lot of stores that were just carrying, like, right, your local supplement stores that were carrying the same stuff that later was cheaper on Amazon to buy, because all of these brands went direct to consumer on the Amazon platform and circumvented a lot of the local stores. A lot of these stores either closed or they sold to somebody else that came in and knew that the new store, the Today store, the one that you see, that where people go to, you have to make the shakes and you got to have the meals available that you could either pick up there or sign up to have delivered to your door. You got to have the perishables. You got to have the meatheads in there to actually give you some advice on what you need while you get a shake done. So it became a service almost slash kind of hangout spot, um in order to survive against Amazon, because how do you survive against them if you just go price to price per bottle? And I think along with that resurgence, you get a lot of very entrepreneurial guys that have one, two, three, four stores, five stores, and maybe not anybody with five, that's a guy already kind of who can outgrow this, but a guy with one or two stores will most likely keep the SARMs under the under the table there for you.
Yes.
And if they really, and they'll sell you those arms, and they'll be in the back somewhere. They'll sell them to you. Maybe if they know you a little bit better, they'll even have some peptides in some refrigerator in the back somewhere.
Oh
And
yeah.
and if they really really know you, then they got that test, they got that trend, they got that DECA, they got them D balls. They got all of that for you if they know you on. And I think, and that's how the stores today have managed to really have managed really to survive. At least the stores that are catering to customers in the sports nutritional realm. That, and also carrying smaller boutique brands that aren't kind of sold everywhere. But but nowadays, I think the stores are came back big too, man. Everywhere, in this, especially the small towns. Don't you
Oh
think?
shit, yeah, yeah, definitely. Man, you know how many people just write me online and tell me, "Oh, I got SARMs at my local supplement shop," and my response is always the same, dude. You can't buy, like what the. My question is, and always will be, only because I've seen it so many times where they buy shit there and the results just don't make sense. Okay. It doesn't make sense to tell me you gain 20 and 25 pounds on SARMs. I'm sorry. I don't care how much I like them. Okay. I'll always at least be honest about it. You're not taking that. And damn well when it happened. You remember when all the pro hormones got banned. And this is a story that a lot of
Yes,
people
yes.
don't want to tell. You know,
2014, they all got banned.
yes, I remember because, well, you remember. And at that time, a lot of people were stuck with, fuck, hundreds of thousands, some people millions of dollars of raw sitting there. What are they going to do? What are you going to do? You can't eat that. You can't eat that loss. So a lot of them all of a sudden switch to SARMs, right? And then they start at least spiking the pills or flat ass just throwing the whole entire thing in pro hormone in there. And it started to, this is how SARMS got a bad name, because they never did before, ever. And granted, they weren't as mainstream, but a lot of the things you'll read that were published, oh, well, they can have this effect, and no, they can't. But it was flooded with so many different things, and people don't know what they're taking, and you're getting people giving weird results, weird side effects. It doesn't make any sort of sense. Well, the answer is, I just told you, the pro hormone ban is what caused that. And it is what it is.
A lot of places just either are too sloppy and don't test their stuff when it comes in. They don't care
Yes.
about their prestige and what they're trying to bring to the table, to the market, even if it is a black underground market, a gray, whatever you were involved in. A lot of people just don't have, like we're talking about the juice dealer, who got bad raws. You just don't care about it enough to test and really do your due diligence as much as you can on your part. Some of these guys, they'll just throw in whatever they get from their supplier, and sometimes they maliciously do spike some of these compounds with SARMs. We see that a lot. Guys reporting side effects that they shouldn't be getting from them.
No, it happens far too often. And hey, look, it doesn't always have to be that, oh, the source is doing this or doing that. Sometimes, in fairness, it's not with malicious intent. It's that you get a little too comfortable with your supplier, you get a little too comfortable and have too good of a relationship, and you let your guard down, and then they get you because something's happening on their end. Because a lot of these people that you're getting the raws from, they're making them right on site. They're in the factories, they're making them right there on site. And so you don't know. I mean, you don't know. They can send you whatever the hell test report they run. So you get these 1-page printouts that are in Chinese or whatever the language. You don't know what the fuck you're reading or you know what I mean? I mean, I could make that for you in 5 minutes. Easily.
No chain of custody
difficult.
either. That paper means nothing because
nothing.
You don't know. You don't know if the scoop, the gram that was used to test for this here report, you don't know if that scoop came from that brick over there. So you don't really
fucking right, man.
You don't know where that fucking scoop came from. So just because they give you a report, it means nothing. When the stuff comes in, if you're serious about running your thing, doing your outfit, you test your shit, and if you're really crafty, you put it online somewhere, let people know that you actually do test your batches and show the batch reports. At least if they're up there, people at least know you're doing something. And
dude,
a lot of these guys don't. A lot of these guys cowboy it out and have issues. And so I wanted to ask you some stuff about SARMS, because you know a lot more about it than I do. Now, we've gone through this before. We'll go through it again in the podcast. So some of these aren't really technically SARMs because they have no interaction with the androgen receptor. Some of them do have some good interaction with it. Out of all of the ones out there, which one do you think is the strongest? Somebody listening and want to know, well, okay, which one can I use that'll give me the closest effect to, say, taking one of the weaker anabolics like Anavar, Winstrol? Which one would get me the closest to that, or do I need to stack them to get something comparable to that?
Well, and I do get that question a ton about the stacking. Do I have to stack? And my answer is always no. You don't have to, but you don't have to do anything, right? You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. But most of them will give you nice results by themselves, 100%. But if you want to really get the most out of them, you stack them, at least 2 of them. You don't have to, because you'll see me lay out stacks all day long on the forums, and sometimes you'll see big ones with 4, 3, 4 in there. Sometimes you'll see just 2, and you'll wonder why. Well, I want to see how strong and what you're after, and how many different areas you're trying to address, right? And so I kind of just try to tailor them all to the needs and necessities, the age, the condition, all of that. If I don't get all that information, it makes it hard for me to tailor it properly. But anyway, to your question, the strongest, it's S23 hands down. I mean, S23 I don't even, and I'll always say this about S23, is it, to me, it should just be categorized as a steroid, period. We're talking about something that shuts you down to the effect of it's actually used as a male contraceptive. The difference is that it's not that difficult of a recovery. While it shuts you down very fast, as soon as you stop taking it, and this was actually shown in the few studies that they have on it, that the bounce back is very quick and you get it back. It's not like when you use a steroid and you get suppressed, you run a PCT. A lot of people say they never feel the same again, right? Well, with this, that's the complete opposite. So that's the difference. So that's, I guess, what has that SARM quality to it. But S23 is something where you could easily put it up against some more mild steroids, and it would stand a good fight. I can't say that about most SARMs, that I could say, oh, well, I could say to you, well, to me, S4 is the Winstrol, or Anavar would be the S4 in the steroid world, but I would never try to tell you the S4 is as close to as strong as they are. That would be ludicrous. But
Now,
they would, they'd be comparable in what they can do, right?
so here's a follow-up question to that a little bit. Now, some of the milder steroids, Anavar, Winstrol, for a guy like you and I to really get a good result with it, we're looking at 40, 50 mgs to get something nice going.
Yeah.
When you have a female, she can do it, depending on her goals, obviously, but if she's not competing or anything crazy, she can do as little as 5 milligrams and look good off of it. Genetics counting for, but about 5 mgs for a girl. Now, when it comes to SARMs, have you noticed that the dosing protocol for women and men is in somewhat near the same scale as the steroids we've known for years, or is the dosing protocol female to men work at a different scale when it comes to SARMs, and milligrams per milligram?
So, like the dosing you just gave for men, I totally agree with that dosing: 40, 50, 60 for Anavar and Winstrol both, right? And I think we've always pretty much been exact on where we figured that. And for the woman, easily 5 milligrams of Anavar. So there's a pretty wide gap there. I mean, it's pretty damn wide. But with SARMs, for most, it's damn near identical. Now, there's a couple that I've seen, well, the woman doesn't need that much, so why give it to her if she's going to get the same result? Because the chance of side effects higher at a certain dose. Like, there's a couple that I always tell the woman, start off at half or just run it at half. That's your LGD, your RAD 140, MK 677. Even though MK is not really side effect or heavy or anything, and really none of them are. But there's just certain things that I've noticed and witnessed consistently that females have a little bit of trouble with. MK2866, very, very mild, but some of them, when they go a little bit higher, because one of the side effects for a female is an enlarged clitoris, and some of them their menstrual could be thrown off, and I've seen it often, and I have told them scale it back, but they're a lot closer than you could do with generally any steroid, pretty much. So yeah, it's a lot easier for women to dose similar to men.
That's very interesting, isn't it? How the dosing scale is way different. That just goes to show you how different they are. So, best fat burner out of them all, and if you had to do a best fat burning stack. So, we're going into summer as of the day that this podcast is going to be published, and a lot of people are there wondering, well, if I go pick some up, what would be the best? Let's say they want to just try one. Just try one, see how I feel on it, and then if I feel good, I'm going to go and drop a whole stack. What's good fat burning stack protocol that one could get on to make some good progress in the next couple of months here with summer just right around the corner?
All right. Well, this is my wheelhouse. All right. You know me well enough. I am a cutter. I live to cut. That's all I do. I cut. Right. So it's my wheelhouse. GW 501 will always be my answer unless something new comes out sometime or whatever, and it probably will. But this isn't, to me. It will always be GW. It's no brainer. It's people like SR 9009, and that's fine. I do too, but it's not. I'm sorry, GW hands down. It does so much for you. I will always have that at the top of my list. Now, granted, it caters more to what I want being a long distance runner, but that for sure, hands down, I don't feel there's even anything that can compete with it in the SARMS world. As far as the stacks, you're always going to have GW in there. Obviously, you're always going to have SR 9009. Those are, if you want to cut, that's your starting point. Is those two. Then it's how aggressive do we want to go? The next step would be to add S4. That trio right there is one you'll see me often recommend to somebody that's a little bit newer to this, or like a female or somebody I'm just trying to take it a little easier on, but still get big results. If we want to go more like an advanced cutting stack, you add RAD 140 into there. What's funny, you'll find that as time's gone on now and more people have had RAD, used it, experienced it, and you'll find search terms, right? RAD 140 is being searched more than any other SARM. Now, GW is always going to be the top seller. It's always what people are going to go to first. And you already know why, because I said how much stronger it is than anything in the fat burning area for a multitude of reasons. And we can go into that when we'll just talk about GW sometime. But the RAD 140 does so much. I mean, it is like a Swiss Army knife of everything. People don't talk about the endurance you get from it, how good you feel on it, the fat loss you get on it, yet you still get strong, you still get size. I mean, it's a MK2866 was the one I always said was the most versatile, but now to me, it's the second most versatile after seeing the capabilities RAD really has. It's that good. The one thing about MK is the healing, and RAD doesn't have that. And for a lot of people, rightfully so, that's a draw to MK. And it's not like you can't stack them both. You're just getting into 5-6 SARMs then on that stack, and it's kind of unnecessary. But that 4-piece I just gave you, that's an advanced ultra cutting stack, and that's the one I like to see people on that are comfortable with that and have more experience.
All right, so run by it real quickly again. What are the four that one would stack, and then I'll ask you some questions specific.
Yeah, you'd go GW 501-516, SR 9009, S4, and RAD 140.
All right, great. So let me ask you this: out of that stack, which one is helping you maintain your muscle mass as you shed the fat? Which one is helping you kind of cover that angle of the cutting stack?
That's going to be your S4 and your RAD 140. Now, the good thing about GW and SR, if you're just cutting and you don't use one that's helping, because they don't build muscle or anything like that, but you don't lose a ton of muscle with them either. It's kind of strange how that works, because it doesn't, if they're not building muscle, they shouldn't be preventing it. But for whatever the reason, I'm not just winging it.
They just make the energy more available from lipids, from fats, from your fat storages is probably what's going on.
More than likely.
Because at the end of the day, when you lose muscle during a cut, it's just your body is repurposing that energy you got stored there to keep you moving. But if you got something in you like GW that's basically burning fat, then you'll have more energy and to spare. And plus, you're most likely or not, if you're using GW, you're hitting the gym, you're hitting some weights, so you're giving your muscles that signal to cause that response. That might be a reason in theory. What do you think?
Well, yeah, and that's a good point, and I'm going to piggyback off that. One of the things that I've always said about GW is it's the enhancer for your performance enhancer. And some people, that aren't super quick or whatever, they go, "What the fuck's he talking?" It enhances what you're already taking as an enhancer. So what my point is that it allows you to always do more. Even on another performance enhancer where you think you're kind of maxed out, it just gets more out of it, because building your VO2 max, allowing you to continue to go longer and harder. Of course, it's indirectly helping you to build more muscle by allowing you to do more, right? So maximum use will help to get maximum output, will get maximum results. So that's one of the things, just like you just brought up about it. So yeah, definitely, 100%.
So, and obviously your fat burners in the stack would be GW and SR, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Now, you're the right guy to ask. Some people have and always do compare GW to SR. In your opinion, how are they similar and different? What sets them apart, or in your particular case, what would make you prefer one or the other for some kind of usage scenario?
I think the first one you're gonna always get is the talk about, the bioavailability of SR 9009, and we can go back and forth on it, to the point of exhaustion. And you can tell I already don't want to do it because I've done it so many times. But that can get into your head, all right. And there's also different opinions on how to use it and dose it. I've went through them all. My belief, and I don't, people disagree, and some totally agree, is that it has to be taken every 2 to 3 hours. The half-life is extremely short, and taken daily. Some people just say use it when you're about to do something. I don't prefer that. I like to let it run continuously throughout. You can do it however you damn well please. I'm not here to tell you my way is the only way. But the point in that is, it's a very annoying, way that you have to deal with it. It's kind of like, when you have to inject every other day. Like for me, I hate that because I don't like to inject at all. Some people love it. I find it to be just very pesky and annoying. So there, GW does more in general. So SR 9009 mainly is targeting metabolism, right? So it's trying to fix, any kind of metabolic disorder, enhance metabolism, and it's kind of just geared mostly and generally in that direction, with help in endurance like GW does. But GW, it doesn't do anything to the extent, or SR doesn't do anything to the extent of GW, meaning GW is going to build that VO2 max and hit the endurance so hard, but it's also going to help your metabolism, and it's helping your blood pressure, your cholesterol. I mean, it's doing so much. It was actually intended to treat obesity, okay, and then and also to help with cholesterol and things of that nature. So everybody thinks it's only used for, endurance, but that wasn't even the intent originally. The intent was to treat obesity. So you can see why I keep going back to it over and over. And I'm always gonna, if you ask, is it being the best and most effective?
So here's a follow-up question to that. One way that I've seen people use it, and that uh I've discussed with other people about using it, was you take the GW and then you only use the SR as a pre-workout, as a pre-event dosing sort of situation. You don't take it every 3 hours throughout the day. No, just if you're gonna work out, take it an hour before your workout and you're good. And if you don't work out, then you don't take it on that day. But the GW you take every single day. What do you think of that protocol? What something like that?
And that was why I said previously that my way is not the only way, and that what you just said is another way that I like a lot. 100%. I totally get that approach as well. And I'm one of those people where you could come to me and I'll listen to you tell me your way, and you could actually convince me. I'm not stuck in one way. Like you see coaches that they're going to do it one way forever, and that'll ruin your career. So I don't think I know everything. And I also know that there's different people with different needs, different responses, different reactions. So you always have to keep an open mind. You cannot be closed minded. You shouldn't in anything in life, but you absolutely can't with the things we're talking about. Everybody's different, and you have to be aware of that. I see all these people that Well, I did it then, and that's like, that's great because that's helpful because we know, but your word is not gospel here, right? I mean, we've all had different experiences, and me and you could go back and forth for a year on the different factors as to why. So, no, yeah, I like the approach that you just gave. I support that one too, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of guys push that one out there because of the short acting half life with SR. So what are mistakes that you see people making when it comes to SARMs out there? Because there's a lot of people using them. I mean, I've been around this fitness thing since I was in my 20s. I'm 40 now, and I've seen fads and things come and go. I mean, I've seen everything. There was a time where guys were injecting something called lutease, which was to help cattle give birth, and you're supposed to inject it into the muscle, and the muscle will feel tired, like you just worked it out. I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother. And you would have to,
Uh,
after you injected it, say on your bicep or your shoulder, you'd have to go use the bathroom right away, obviously, because it would make get you going, and then the
oh
muscle
yeah.
and then the muscle would feel like you just did a whole full workout with it. It's pretty, but and then after a while, everybody figured out that it was the science didn't work, and this thing was going to build any muscle for anybody. I've seen some nutty stuff out there when it comes to this new SARMs thing that's really kind of just. I mean, SARMs have kind of sort of taken over. I think that the era when there were a lot of pro hormones being sold, guys were having maybe some issues here and there with some of the side effects from the pro hormones, and so maybe they wouldn't always come back. They would do a cycle, maybe they would do two cycles, and then they would never really come back because they couldn't deal with some of the acne. Some guys are lactating out of one nipple for taking, Superdrol, Halodrol. These were basically just modified different steroids, and they had the very same side effects as steroids. And then circa 2010, a couple years before, a couple years after, we get all these SARMs coming in, and now these things are not having all these same side effects. They give you better than natural results. I mean, let's be realistic. You get better results than you would natty. You could still grab them over the counter, and the side effects just aren't as bad. And for what most people want, for what most people's real goals and desires are, which is just a beach body for the most part. I think 99.999% of the people at the gym are not high level. They just want beach bodies. So SARMs have just become a real easy, simple way to kind of get there, haven't they? And what have you seen? What are the crazy things that you've seen, or the things, or the mistakes that you see a lot of people are making right now in the SARMs market, in the SARMs realm? What are some of the problems that you're seeing out there right now, in your opinion?
Well, the one problem that's it's actually gotten a little bit better over time, but was rampant for, especially at the beginning, was just the lack of quality or knowing what you're getting and lack of trust. And look, there's good people, there's bad people. So there's good companies and there's bad companies. There's also companies that don't have bad intentions, but a lot of people, it's like, oh, well, let's use Bitcoin as an example. I want to get into that. They don't have a fucking clue about anything to do with it. They just want to do it because they think everybody else is doing it, and they get involved. And it's not just like this, and this. There's a lot more to it than you would think, and you just can't go, oh, well, that looks like a good business, I'm going to do it. It doesn't work that way. So you got those kind of people that were doing it, right? And you don't know who to trust. You don't know, there's fake websites up all over. I mean, I could go on and on and on. So the point is that a lot of times still there's a quality issue, and then here's one of the major flaws we're going to always run into is people don't do any blood work. So if you're not doing any blood work, pre-cycle, mid-cycle, post-cycle, you're not going to know what's causing what, how far into it, because all this data is important, right? If you're telling me you've got this certain side effect after 2 to 3 weeks, then I can go, okay, It's probably related to this. This is probably what you're taking. Da 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 da. If you don't give me anything to work with, and you just show me a fucked up blood panel at midway through and have nothing previously or later on at the end, we're going to have a hell of a time guessing on what caused it. So lack of understanding, people just want to buy stuff and use it without knowing what they're doing. You shouldn't use any PED or shit. You shouldn't use any supplement for that matter until you really know about it, know what it is, what the side effects can be, what to do. I mean, it should be common sense, but it's not. And that's part of the reason these things all get such a bad name, because of people misusing and just basically being flat ass careless. I mean, I'll never understand that, but there's certain things that are better just left to be. Another thing is, and you know this, Rick, because we're always going to see this, people getting greedy, wanting to run it too long, wanting to run it too high. Well, if I got this kind of result at 25, why can't I go to 50? Why can't I go to 75? That type of person. People that run it too short and then say it's not any good, or they run it too low and they don't know what they're doing. People running 4-week cycles and then saying, oh, SARMs don't work, this and that. It's like, brother, you didn't even get to the peak. I mean, so there's a variety of things that I see daily. All you can do is try to help people, make videos, put out content, and hope that they search it out and read it and find it. You can't do anything other than that. You know,
it was real easy to feel some bad side effects from the pro hormones, the old ones, the ones that got banned
oh yeah,
in 2014.
shit.
So if you were fucking things up and you weren't kind of doing things right, you were overdoing it, you were mixing too many things together, you were being an asshole, you were drinking, I mean, you would fucking know it. Those pro hormones will make you feel like shit. With SARMs, I think people because they don't really give you a lot of side effects that you can feel right away. I think a lot of people misuse them because they don't understand, like, hey, this internally could be I'm running it too high. What could it be doing to me internally? I feel fine externally, and I think that is a big difference between the new SARMs guys that are using SARMs compared to the pro hormone guys. And I compare those two because it's sort of the same kind of market for bodybuilders, just that better than natural product that you can still go to your local store and buy, right? So
Right.
yeah, so it's just that better than natural product, and I think part of the abuse comes from that, man. They're just too forgiving with people that are idiots, and even then, I still see people having terrible side effects and reporting really, really bad side effects from abusing the SARMs. Too long, too much, too many mixed together, and still eating like shit. Cholesterol, salt, high salt, cholesterol, sugars, all kinds of things, because they're just using the drugs and not even really managing their diet properly, which is where it should all start, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know how it is, right? Everybody wants something for nothing, and that's not just with what they buy. They want something to do all the work for them. Nothing that you take, steroids, whatever, is going to do all the work for you. It's just not possible. It's just, that's a whole nother story, right? But I was going to ask you a question. How many
Okay.
guys over all of these years that you know will tell you, oh, I enjoy the side effects when I'm taking a steroid? Like, who enjoys side effects?
Absolutely no. I think the only side effect some guys enjoy from taking steroids, the only one, is you shoot blanks and you can't get a chick pregnant.
Yeah,
Besides that, I don't
yeah,
think there's any other side effect that anybody likes, dude.
no. And I'm sure you've experienced this many times when you're on cycle. If the cycle is if you're getting too much on the side effect side, and you easily can with things that even aren't that strong. You can easily be miserable on D-ball. You can easily be miserable with Tren, obviously. Deca, you can be miserable with. I mean, you can be miserable with any of them. The point is, if you're miserable, what's the point in the cycle? You're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to make any progress if you can't work out. So and I've seen so many guys that tell me, well, they've got this going on, this going on, this going on. And I'm wondering, well, how the hell? Because your recovery is already going to be bad, with that kind of side effect. And if you're working out like shit, one of the most painful fucking cycles I ever ran, and this was early on when I would run a pro hormone, was ultra draw, which was basically super draw, and Trenazone. And that was a popular combo back then. Was it Ananias Labs? I think something like that. It was a popular combo.
Yeah, I've heard of Ananias Labs and that combo as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
man, I have never felt so fucking terrible in my life, and I had ultra results. You I don't like being 205, 210 pounds. I hate it. I despise it, and I easily get there if I just eat more and take a small, decent sized cycle. But I don't want it. And I was like 210, not even trying to be. And I remember I had just kind of settled in Maui when I moved there. And I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything. I stopped after like 3.5 weeks and still gained like 15, 20 pounds, man. And I was the worst feeling of my life. I never ever want to feel that way again. I mean, I was so fucking miserable. I mean, ugh, and it's not worth it to get. Why the hell would I want to go through all that just to gain 10 or 15 pounds? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense.
That was the problem with the pro hormones. That was the
Yes.
issue with the pro hormones. And I remember, looking at it from the angle of someone who's, admin on a steroid forum, right? I'm looking at all these pro hormone kids and I'm going, you can only get so far with orals. I mean, you're either going to run enough methylated compounds through your body to ruin your liver, or you're going to use them responsibly, which means you should only be running 50 to maybe 90, 100 mgs of something for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then you got to drop it. And then what are you going to do? You got nothing else to hold you out. And there were some pro hormones that were not methylated that didn't really wreck your liver and had some conversions down the line that were beneficial, and guys would stack them, this and that. But look, man, at the end of the day, you need those injectables in there. You need that ester chain
Yeah.
to really, I mean, if you're really serious, and you want to maintain a year-round nice physique and get results that last, without that ester, I mean, look, okay, unless you're doing like a 5-6 week cutting program with Anavar, like I've done those. That's something like that, all right. But that's like a once a year thing. If you really want to get year round results and beyond, on the sauce, 6-8 months out of the year, take 4 to 6 months off, and you need the injectables in there because you need them releasing all day long. Here's a question for you, Dylan. What Talk to me about some of your like favorite stacks of stacking the SARMS with the classic steroids, because I've had some decent stacks. I've tried them. I've stacked GW with Anavar. I thought that was great. Stack GW with
Yes.
testosterone. I mean, what are some of, like, let's say, I don't mean a guy doing a full out cycle and then just throwing a SARM or two in there. I mean someone saying, all right, I'm trying to gain, lose weight, whatever my goal is. I'm going to stack 1 or 2 SARMs with 1 or 2 steroids together, a 3, 4, maybe 5 compound stack. I think 4 is a good number. What am I taking? What kind of dosing? What goes well together and complements itself?
You know, I mean, so I'm just going to tell you on a personal level, like for me personally, it's always my go-to two is GW and S4. That's mine. I'm not saying that's for everybody. That's just for me. You can basically count on me always running Proviron and always running those 2 SARMs in most every stack I run. Personal preference. I'm not saying that I recommend that for everybody, that type of thing. But that for me is like gold.
You basically base with that. So if you were going to
Yes.
bulk, you would base with those 3, and then you throw on top whatever else you're looking at or cutting, whatever, with those 3. What do you like about the Proviron in there? Because I'll tell you what I think about Proviron. You tell me what you like about it.
Proviron's a funny thing because some people will tell you that Proviron does absolutely nothing for them. And I don't want to say that I don't agree. I often wonder if people understand the function and the purpose that it has. And I think that some people don't. Um, and and I can understand why they would say it doesn't do anything for them. For me, Proviron, anytime that you can free up bound testosterone, um, it's going to help your results. It's going to help. Basically, when you have low testosterone, right, you're obviously not going to be able to build muscle as easy, if at all. You're going to carry fat, whatever. So for me, anytime you're freeing up shit that's bound, it's definitely helping your results. I like the way that it makes me feel. I don't notice, like, people will go, oh, you can use Proviron or Masteron, and I say that's crazy. I don't think Proviron makes you look like Masteron at all. I think it has those qualities. Some people want to tell you it can be an AI. I don't like that either. I definitely think it could make you use less of one. But I like it. I always have. You just have to have a realistic expectation on what it is and what it does. And if you don't understand that, you're probably going to be disappointed. So
I know some guys, some of the old school guys, which I would consider you a vet in that regard, would use something like Proviron more as a hormone stabilizer, where they kind of know their hormones. Maybe I tend to, my prolactin tends to kick up a little bit too much, and Proviron will keep that in check. And I
yeah,
could, and actually, is that maybe one of the reasons you like it? You feel like though maybe it's keeping your prolactin down a little bit. You see a difference there?
I'm always just aware of stuff like that. I don't even know
Yeah.
if I necessarily even have the problem, but
You're
because
aware of it.
I'm estrogen prone. I had surgery,
Mhm.
and that was from pre-existing. It wasn't from any sort of steroid use. That was all pre-existing. My dad had the same shit. It just kind of ran on his side. Um, so I'm always really aware, and I'm always maybe overly cautious with people, but I always feel like you don't want to have that problem, because it does take a toll on you mentally. It's not the physical, it's the mental, and you don't even realize it. So
I'm reading through the lines here. So I hear you saying that you take Proviron almost every cycle so that the steroids don't mess with your dick. That's what you're saying.
essentially, yes.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I
That's
get
the
it. Yeah,
simple way.
that's a simple way. Yeah. All right, guys. So that is it for part one of the Dylan Gemelli interview. For part two, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so that you can get the next episode delivered right to your phone. Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. We're everywhere right now. YouTube. Just make sure you subscribe, ring the bell, and you'll get a notice to listen to the rest. It's the other half of the Dylan Gemelli interview. I'll see you guys here next week.